From huge engines and loads of power to exotic wood and quilted leather, few companies blend eye-watering performance and butt-coddling luxury as well as this one does. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Bentley.
Before we get into it, I want to thank Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this episode. In the ocean of online content, there's a lot of websites and little crab guys that take your info without you even knowing it. But you can swim under their radar using Surfshark VPN, a virtual private network. You can stop websites from tracking your info and selling targeted ads to you. Plus, with Surfshark's HackLock ID protection, you get an alert when some little jerk man array is trying to break into your email. One of my favorite features of Surfshark is that you can see content not available in your area. How many times have you tried to watch the new season of Whale Migration and the video is blocked? For me, too many times to count. If you want both protection and freedom online, click the link in the description below and use code DONUTMedia. It not only gives you a whopping 83% off the regular price, but also a whole month of service totally free. Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to try it out for yourself. Thanks again to Surfshark. Support the brands that support Donut. It's how we make all this content that you guys get to watch for free.
You guys may be wondering why I have a microphone in this episode. Turns out, watch the news. We're not slowing down at all. Donut every day. Hit that subscribe button and that bell so you don't miss anything. Now, with that out of the way, let's get in. If you've made enough money to buy a Bentley or to call your second studio album Beer Bongs and Bentleys, nice. Everyone knows that you have officially made it. Few cars offer as much speed, power, and luxury in one package, but most of the good stuff actually happened early on in the brand's history. In the early 1900s, Walter Owen Bentley and one of his brothers owned a company that sold French DFP cars in Cricklewood, North England. English people are the best at naming stuff. Cricklewood. This looks like a good piece of land. It does. What should we call it? Cricklewood. If you want to know what a DFP car is, Google it. I just ain't got time because this is up to speed on Bentley. Now, Walter had previously worked on locomotives and motorcycles, so he really wanted to build his own cars. The engineer side of his brain thought, why not make pistons out of lightweight aluminum instead of heavy old iron? Genius. He came up with his own aluminum alloy, fabbed some new pistons, and installed them in one of the French cars he should have had up for sale. It worked out really, really well. He set speed records and won a ton of races with it at local tracks. Then there was a big war, and everyone stopped doing stuff for fun for a while. I'm sure you guys can all relate. But WO had made a big enough name for himself that the British government asked him for help with the war effort. They used Bentley pistons in World War I biplane engines, and when the war was over, Walter was awarded an MBE. That's a fancy British title. It's like a knight or something. And he also got enough money to start a new business, the Bentley Motor Company. So Walter set out to make a fast car, a good car, the best car. Former Royal Flying Corps officer named Clive Gallop designed a 3-liter, 4-cylinder engine for the first Bentley that was super advanced for the time. It had 4 valves and 2 spark plugs per cylinder. It had a dry sump oil system, that's race car stuff, and an overhead camshaft. The first Bentley 3-liter was delivered in 1921, and they became known for being extremely reliable.
Heading our way.
They raced in local hill climbs and at Brooklands, the world's first purpose-built banked racetrack. By 1922, they were already running in the Indianapolis 500. They started 19th and finished 13th. Not too shabby for their first 500-mile race. Now, Bentley thought that racing for 24 hours straight was ridiculous. But after seeing a customer place 4th in a Bentley in the 1923 24 Hours of Le Mans, they entered a factory team for the next 7 years straight. Now, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, back in the day, it was pretty common to only supply the drivetrain, the chassis, and the badge without a car body. Then the buyers would commission a custom body from a local coach builder, which meant that cars from one manufacturer didn't all look the same. Now, Bentley could look like anything, so the badge was the only way that you'd know what it is. Now, apparently, taking a badge from a more expensive or cooler car and putting it on your not as cool car was a thing that people did in the 1920s, just like they do today. It's okay that it's not a real M3, but there's no such thing as an M328IS. Just like a Type R badge. So with that in mind, the Bentley badge was designed with a different number of feathers on each wing. Bentley figured that people who made fake badges wouldn't notice this. So the forgeries would have the same number of feathers on each side and be easy to spot. Yeah, it's a Bentley. In 1925, Captain Wolf Barnado, a wealthy diamond mine heir, bought his first Bentley and started winning races in it. When Bentley struggled to make ends meet, Wolf invested his own cash into the company and ended up taking control of the whole thing. He and a handful of other independently wealthy racers came to be known as the Bentley Boys. They were Wolf, Babe Bernardo, Sir Henry Tim BIRKIN, Glenn Kitson, J.K. Benji Benjafield reporting for duty, John Duff, and Sammy Davis, baby. How cool is that? 4 of them lived in apartments right next door to each other in a fancy part of London, where they threw parties that lasted for days and parked their Bentleys all together in one quarter. That's awesome! That's the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life! Just like me and Nolan and Job and Jeremiah and Joey and Joe and all the donut guys just parking all our cars next to each other. Just like, oh man, what day is it? I don't even know. Party day. The general public imagined the friends sipping Moeezy together at clubs, betting on the ponies, playing the stock market, and hooning their Bentleys on weekends, which is exactly what they did. It was the Great Gatsby lifestyle everyone wished they had, and the Bentley Boys were a major part of building up the Bentley brand's prestigious reputation. Benji Benjafield and Sammy Davis managed to score the company's most dramatic win at the 1927 24 Hours of Le Mans. The entire Bentley team and several other cars were involved in one huge crash. While the others were taken out, Benji and Sammy's old number 7 Bentley was still drivable, and they nursed it to the end in first place. Bentley's then won for the next 3 years in a row, even sweeping the top 4 places in 1929. Now, compared to the racy Bugattis at the time, Bentleys were huge. They still are, but their engines were also twice as big. And you know what they say about bigger engines, right? They make more power, baby. Wait, why do you have a microphone? Watch the news. Walter Bentley didn't like the idea of using forced induction to make more power. He's actually the guy who came up with the muscle car fanboy's favorite phrase. There's no replacement for displacement. People were putting heavier and heavier bodies onto his chassis too, which is why Bentley built a 6.5 liter inline 6 and called it the Speed 6. But Bentley boy Tom BIRKIN wasn't having it. He was an old school boost creep and he wanted a lighter weight, supercharged 4-cylinder. The supercharged Bentley was the company's equivalent of a drag car. Fast as hell, but it was unreliable for endurance racing. Ask Nolan what that's about. You add boost to your car and you ruin it. So it turned out that back then there still wasn't a replacement for displacement because Walter's Speed 6s won both the 1929 and 1930 runnings of Le Mans. But despite that, the blower Bentley was the most popular model at the time, probably because there was a freaking Root supercharger hanging off the nose like a whiny silver booger. In all, Bentleys won Le Mans 5 times out of 8 attempts between 1924 and 1930. After the 5th win, Walter claimed he'd learned everything they needed to know about speed and reliability and retired the team from racing. I mean, you might as well go out on top, right? Walter capped off 1930 with the Bentley 8-liter, a massive inline 6-cylinder that was guaranteed to do 100 miles per hour no matter what coachwork was on it. They made about 220 horsepower, which was huge power at the time when other high-performance cars barely made 100, and they cruised smoothly and quietly. His personal 8-liter was restored in 2006, and every Bentley CEO gets the keys to it as a reminder of the company's philosophy. It was WO's masterpiece, but only 100 were made because the Great Depression was in full stride when it came out. Nobody was buying anything expensive because nobody had any frigging money. Wolf was too scared to keep dumping his own cash into the business, so the Bentley Motor Company was put up for sale. Pretending to be another company in disguise, Rolls-Royce bought Bentley because they wanted to eliminate their biggest competitor.
One entire Bentley Motor Company, please. Wait a second. Are you Rolls-Royce?
What? No! It's Royce Rolls!
All right. One Bentley for the tall gentleman up front.
Production was suspended for a few years and moved from Cricklewood to the Rolls factory in Derby. All the cars made before the takeover are called Cricklewood Bentleys. I'm sure Jay Leno has a million of them. Cars made from 1933 to 1939 are called Derby Bentleys, and they're basically badge-engineered Rolls-Royces. They were advertised as the silent sports car and were still really, really good, though, because, I mean, Rolls-Royce doesn't suck. Car production around the world pretty much stopped again for World War II and picked back up in a newer factory in Crewe, which is where Bentleys are still made today. A while after the war ended, longtime Rolls-Royce engineer Ivan Endernden decided to distance new R-Type Bentleys from their corporate Silver Dawn sibling. He developed the high-performance 1952 R-Type Continental with a long, low body and tested it in an actual wind tunnel so aero could be optimized. Ivan wanted it to be something that you could drive comfortably across the entire continent of Europe at over 100 miles per hour. But there were no tires available that could handle the weight of such a big, luxurious car at those speeds. Regular models were made out of heavy steel, so fancy pants coach builders H.J. Mulliner had to use aluminum extensively to make it work. The car didn't even come with a radio because it would be too much added weight. The R-Type Continental sold for almost 7,000 British pounds, which was over 3 times the average cost of a house. So how do you make the best grand touring car around even better?
You add 2 doors and call it the S-Series Continental Flying Spur?
Exactly. Thank you.
No problem, baby.
Now, passengers could envelop themselves in backseat bouginess without awkwardly climbing past the front seats like plebes. What am I going to do, touch my driver in front of everybody? The S-Series Continentals were the last Bentleys to be sold as bare chassis and be bodied by someone else. The T-Series that debuted in 1965 and ran into 1980 was made fully in-house and was just a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow with a different grille and badging. By the 70s, the rebadged Bentleys were barely 5% of Rolls-Royce's production, so they tried to revive the brand by playing up its racy past and building performance models again.
All right, nice. That's a good plan.
The new Mulsanne was named after the famous Le Mans straightaway, and they gave it and the new Brooklyns models turbocharged 6.75-liter V8s. The second-gen Brooklyns made the most torque of any gas-powered production V8 with 770 pound-feet. Bentley sales shot back up to surpass Rolls, except it didn't really matter because the two brands were now both owned by an engineering company called Vickers. In 1998, Vickers sold both luxury car brands to Volkswagen because, yeah, duh, Volkswagen owns everybody. But here's the thing. Rolls-Royce also makes airplane engines, and due to some prior airplane engines business with BMW ended up with all of Rolls-Royce's trademarks and ultimately the entire brand. Now, Volkswagen managed to hold on to Bentley, but they really wanted both, as if they didn't already own enough car brands. In a bid to revive Bentley's brand performance heritage again, they went back to the 24 hours of Le Mans for the first time in 70 years. A A Speed 8 prototype came in third in 2001, and 2 Speed 8s took first and second in 2003. Right after the win, the sleek new Bentley Continental GT came out and launched the brand's highest sales ever. It was a grand touring coupe whose styling was obviously inspired by earlier Continental designs. It was still all hand built, but since it was based on the VW Phaeton sedan, it can now be mass produced. And with a 6-liter twin turbo W12, masses of people wanted them produced. Sales shot up from just 800 total Bentleys per year to nearly 7,000 Continental GTs per year alone. 2007 was the first year that Bentley sold more than 10,000 cars. Okay, so super niche brand, doesn't make a lot of cars. Volkswagen buys them. All of a sudden, this one model outsells pretty much the entire number of cars they've ever sold ever. Sound familiar? Check out this episode of Up to Speed on Lamborghini. I'll put the link in the description below. A whole line of Continental GT variants spun off from that success, including new Flying Spur and Mulsanne editions, and sales are still going strong. For buyers who didn't want a Mercedes-AMG or Italian exotic, the new Bentley models were just right.
A touch of British class with a bunch of refined power, baby! Refined power, baby!
Nowadays, SUVs are what everybody wants, especially rich people. So the huge Bentayga is now Bentley's most popular model. They're among the top of the performance luxury game, with huge, powerful engines and hand-built craftsmanship. There's a ridiculous number of ways to customize a new Bentley, from choosing your own two-tone leather and wood trim all the way down to the color of the carpet binding. I had to look up what carpet binding was. And for the ultimate Bentley freak, there's the WO edition Mulsanne by Mulliner. Bentley brought the legendary British coach builder in-house to make special editions. When Walter W.O. Bentley's personal 8-liter was restored in 2006, the engine was rebuilt and the original crankshaft was set aside. And to commemorate 100 years of Bentley, they sliced it up into 100 cross-sections and laid them into the back seat beverage trays of 100 new Bentley Mulsannes. If you want to know what it costs, you won't find out on the website, because if you need to know the price before you buy it, you can't freaking afford it, dude. Now, if you have $2 million lying around to dole out on one of 12 Bentley Bacalar Roadsters, then you're a lucky dude. It has wood trim made from trees that weren't cut down. They simply got tired of living and fell of their own accord and then hung out in an English peat bog for 5,000 years. I saw one at Geneva. It's sick. Now that's what I call some good wood. Now, Bentley sells and makes more cars today than they ever have. But if you can afford any of their models, you'll still have a very rare and very, very special car. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Up to Speed. We got to give you guys some stuff to watch if you're stuck at home. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. We got Wheelhouse on Monday. On Tuesday, we got Bumper to Bumper. Wednesday, we have Money Pit. Thursday, got this show. It's called Up to Speed. Friday, my brand new show called The D-List. Saturday, we have a show called Versus. And then, of course, Sunday, we have our podcast, Pass Gas. We're pushing. Hang in there. I love you.